You know what's wild? Caitlin Clark is doing things in the WNBA that we've never seen before. She's the only player in history to average at least 19.5 points and 8.4 assists per game in a season. But here's the thing, she might not even be considered for MVP. Let's talk about why that's happening and what it means for the league. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Imagine this. You're a rookie coming into the WNBA, and you're not just good, you're breaking records left and right. That's Caitlin Clark for you. She's turning heads, dropping dimes, and making shots like it's nothing. But even with all these insane numbers, some people are saying she might not be MVP material. Can you believe that? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at how Clark turned the Indiana Fever's whole season around. Trust me, it's not just about the stats. This girl is changing the game in ways you wouldn't believe. So stick around, because we're about to dive into why Caitlin Clark is the most exciting thing to happen to the WNBA in years. All right, let's talk numbers. Clark's not just putting up good stats, she's putting up stats we've never seen before. Like, ever. In the entire history of the WNBA. But here's the thing. Why are some people still doubting her impact on the game? Let's break it down. Caitlin Clark isn't just leading the league in a few categories. She's dominating in assists, three-pointers made, and get this, she broke the all-time record for assists in a single season. That's not Rookie of the Year stuff. That's all-time great territory. But wait, it gets even crazier. Clark had 5 games with at least 25 points and 10 assists. You might think, okay, that's pretty good. No, it's not just good, it's record-breaking. The previous record was 4 games, held by Sabrina Ionescu. Clark smashed that in her first season. Now let's talk about her shooting. Some critics try to compare her to A'ja Wilson, who's a beast in points and rebounds. But here's where Clark stands out. She's not just a scorer, she's a playmaker. Her three-point shooting percentage, 34%. Free throws, 90%. Compare that to Wilson's 31% from 3 and 85% from the line. For a guard, those numbers are fire.
Game, another rookie record for Caitlin Clark in a 110-109 victory over the Dallas Wings Sunday at...
You know what's wild? Clark is the first player ever to make over 100 three-pointers and dish out over 200 assists in the same season. That's like being a sniper and a general all at once. It's changing the game. Let's put it in perspective. Historically, WNBA players were either great scorers or great passers. Clark, she's both. She's redefining what we expect from a top player. It's like she looked at the rule book and said, nah, I'm gonna do it all. And we're not done yet. Remember that assist record I mentioned? Well, Clark didn't just break it. She shattered it with 19 assists in a single game. That's not just good passing. That's like she's got eyes in the back of her head. But here's where it gets really interesting. Clark is already in the top 5 for triple-doubles in WNBA history. As a rookie, she's one of only 4 players to get multiple triple-doubles in a season. That's not just good. That's historically good. Now, some people might say, but what about her efficiency? Well, let's talk about that. Her effective field goal percentage and true shooting percentage are right up there with the best. And remember, she's a guard. She's not camping under the basket for easy shots like a center. She's creating her own opportunities and making them count. So, why are people still doubting Clark's impact? Maybe it's because we've never seen anything like this before. It's like she's playing a different sport out there. She's not just putting up numbers, she's changing how the game is played at the highest level. Clark's not just changing how she plays, she's changing entire franchises. The Indiana Fever were the league's punching bag. Now, they're in the playoffs, and viewership is through the roof.
To see Caitlin surrounded by the players that are already on the Indiana team, because, her vision is next level.
But here's the kicker. With success comes a target on your back. How's Clark handling the heat? You know what's wild? The Indiana Fever went from being the team everyone wanted to play to the team everyone's scared of. Last season, they were winning less than a third of their games. This season, they're winning half of them. That's not just good, that's a complete turnaround. And guess who's behind this transformation? Yep, you guessed it, Caitlin Clark. She didn't just join the team, she became the team. We're talking about a rookie who's responsible for 44% of the Fever's total points. That's nearly half the team's scoring coming from one player. She's not just leading the league in points scored, she's leading in points assisted too. It's like she's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. But here's where it gets crazy. With great power comes, well, a lot of people trying to stop you. Clark's facing some serious heat on the court. We're talking multiple flagrant fouls.
Surrounding the foul heard around the world, the latest foul heard around the world from a WNBA player on to Caitlin Clark.
In fact, 17% of all flagrant fouls in the league were against her. That's not just rough play, that's targeting.
Because you don't miss much. Caitlin Clark has personally received 17% of the flagrant fouls called. Literally, she's been fouled 70 on flagrant fouls. 17% of them have been against her personally.
Imagine this. In one game, 5 out of the league's 30 flagrant fouls were committed against Clark. That's like the entire league decided, hey, let's all gang up on the new kid. But you know what? Clark's not backing down. She's taking the hits and still putting up insane numbers. Now, let's talk about something that's got everyone buzzing. Viewership. The Fever's playoff game against the Connecticut Sun, it pulled in 1.8 million viewers. That's not just good. That's a 330% increase from last year's first-round game. Clark's not just changing the game on the court, she's changing it off the court too. You know what's even crazier? This was ESPN's most watched non-finals WNBA playoff game ever. Clark's not just bringing in fans, she's making history with every game she plays. So what does all this mean? Clark didn't just improve the Fever, she made them relevant. She made them exciting. She turned a team that people used to ignore into must-watch TV. And she did it all as a rookie, facing some of the toughest, most physical play in the league. You'd think Clark's incredible season would make her a lock for MVP. But hold up, there's a catch. The WNBA's got some unwritten rules about who gets to be MVP, and they might just keep the crown out of Clark's reach. Let's talk about A'ja Wilson for a second. This girl is having a season that's straight up ridiculous. We're talking 26.9 points per game, leading the league in rebounds with 11.9 and blocks with 2.6. That's not just good, that's video game numbers. Now here's where things get interesting. If Wilson wins MVP, she'd be making history. She'd be the first player since 2008 to win it without being on a top-seeded team. That's a big deal, and it tells you something about how the WNBA usually picks its MVPs. But let's get back to Clark. She's leading the league in assists per game, total assists, and three-pointers made. Oh, and she broke the record for most assists in a single season. As a rookie. That's insane. So why isn't Clark a lock for MVP? Well, it's complicated. The MVP award usually goes to players on the best teams. It's like an unwritten rule. But Clark's got people questioning that. She's making everyone rethink what valuable really means. Think about it this way. Clark took a team that was basically the league's punching bag and turned them into contenders. That's a big deal. It's kind of like what Candace Parker did back in 2008 when she won MVP. Parker didn't have the best stats that year, but she changed her whole team. Sound familiar? This whole debate is making people ask some big questions. Like, what's more valuable? A player who puts up crazy numbers on an already great team, or someone who comes in and completely transforms a struggling franchise? It's not just about Clark versus Wilson, it's about how we look at the whole game.
What surprised me was Caitlin Clark was all the way at 4th. I actually had her, if I'd have had a vote, I had her at number 2 in all of this, and I think anybody can make an argument for number 1 with Caitlin Clark if they wanted to. And
do we value individual stats more, or the impact a player has on their team? It's like comparing apples and oranges, but both are fruit, you know? Here's something to think about. If we were just giving out an award for the best women's basketball player in the world, A'ja Wilson might take it. But if we're talking about who's the most valuable player in the WNBA, that's where Clark comes in. This MVP race is more than just about 2 players. It's about the future of the WNBA. It's about how we value different kinds of greatness. Do we stick with tradition, or do we change things up? Clark's season is forcing everyone to rethink what it means to be valuable. She's not just putting up numbers, she's changing the whole conversation, and that might be the most valuable thing of all. All right, let's wrap this up. Caitlin Clark's rookie season, it's been off the charts. She's not just breaking records, she's rewriting the whole playbook. The Indiana Fever went from being the team everyone ignored to must-see TV. That's all Clark. But here's the thing, it's not just about the numbers. Clark's changing how we look at the game. She's making us ask, what does it really mean to be valuable in the WNBA? You know what's wild? This is just her first season. Imagine what she'll do next year, or the year after that. Clark's not just playing basketball, she's shaping the future of the sport. So here's a question for you. As Clark keeps getting better, how's she gonna change women's basketball? Because let me tell you, we're watching history in the making.